Hey guys, we're still having fun. It is day 2 of our article, Sing, Dance, Repeat. Sing, Dance, Repeat. Sing, dance, repeat.
You're such a broken record.
Repeat. Hey! Don't
I
be
used
like
it
that.
right because you were saying the same thing again and again. And
Sing,
that was one of
dance,
our
repeat.
musical idioms from yesterday.
Yeah, we like these idioms because, well, they have to do with music or with making music. And that's always fun because you can always kind of play around with things. I can think of a couple of idioms that are music related that I grew up hearing, like when you're really bummed out and you're telling your friend all the bad things that are happening in your life, and you're not a broken record, but you are telling them about your sad stuff. You're telling your sad story.
There's an idiom for that?
Singing the blues.
Oh, okay.
I think we're just going to have to sit here and sing the blues.
That's a pretty good one, too, of course, because blues, when we think of blues or feeling blue, we often think of being depressed. But the blues can also just be, tough times in your life. If you're singing the blues, you're kind of complaining or, singing your problems as blues singers did. And often when you sing the blues or listen to the blues or complain, often afterwards you feel a little bit better. So there you go. The blues is not just about being sad. It's about getting out your sadness, realizing that everyone goes through the same tough stuff occasionally, and you feel better after that. And using some of these idioms can make us feel better. Although the first one, well, it's about two people engaging in maybe not the best kind of behavior because it takes two to tango,
Oh, my goodness. Well, let's listen to the whole day one time right now.
It takes two to tango. This phrase comes from the Latin American tango dance, which requires two participants. It suggests that in conflicts or challenging situations, both sides share responsibility. For example, if two friends argue constantly, you might say, "It takes two to tango. Both need to improve their behavior." This idiom also applies to teamwork, as successful cooperation requires effort from everyone involved. Whether at school, in the workplace, or even in friendships, this idiom reminds us that responsibility often lies with both parties. Jump on the bandwagon. This expression stems from political campaigns, where candidates rode on decorated wagons with bands playing to attract attention. Over time, the phrase came to describe people who follow trends or support popular ideas. People often use this idiom to highlight those who change their opinions or actions to fit in with the majority. For instance, social media influencers often jump on the bandwagon by endorsing trendy products or participating in popular challenges to increase their visibility. March to the beat of one's own drum. The idiom's inspiration may have come from military bands, whose drummers were known for setting a marching pace. In such a structured environment, failing to follow the set rhythm would be highly noticeable. Now, the idiom march to one's own drum describes individuals who think differently and make their own choices. These people are often seen as creative, unconventional, and daring enough to defy social norms. Musical idioms add life and rhythm to language. By learning and using them, you can jazz up your conversations and make them more expressive. Next time you chat, try using one of these expressions and let your words sing. Okay, so we are back. We've heard 3 new musical idioms there that we're going to be learning all about today. And yes, at the beginning, we are on the dance floors of Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm assuming that's where the... Thank you very much. That's where the tango, of course, that famous Latin dance comes from. The dance of passion. And it takes two to tango. That's very true. It also takes 2 people to waltz, 2 people to foxtrot, 2 people to jitterbug, 2 people to cha-cha-cha, 2 people to mambo, 2 people to samba.
2 people to have a conversation.
No, maybe it doesn't take 2 people to samba. I think you can samba on your own. Anyways, it takes 2 to dance together in this way. So we're talking about the tango, one of those formal, it's a Latin dance, it's a ballroom dance, that kind of thing. And this idea is, it's very logical. It takes 2 people to engage in this dancing activity. You can disco dance or break dance all by yourself, but if you're tangoing alone, it just looks sad. And it would be kind of hard, and you'll never win that dance competition by tangoing by yourself. So this phrase, as it says there, comes from the Latin American tango dance, which requires two participants. Many of these ballroom dances do require two participants, and the tango, I think it's often sort of rated as one of the hardest ballroom dances to do, right?
Yeah, it's not an easy one. There's a lot of like dips where where the woman is like down to the ground and then sliding back up, and it's just quite intense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it suggests, as the article says, that in conflicts or challenging situations, both sides share responsibility. That's the way we would use this idiom. Your friend is complaining that they're always arguing with one of their coworkers, and then you say, well, what do you say? And then your friend says, well, I tell her what's wrong with her. And so they're engaging in this conflict. And when your friend is trying to kind of blame the other person for starting the conflict and for continuing the conflict, you kind of say, yeah, but you're engaging as well. You're not just apologizing or saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about this. You're not trying to step away. You're right in there fighting your side. So it's kind of like it takes two people to fight or to argue. And it does, right? You can't argue with yourself. That's weird. If you see someone boxing, they're always boxing against another person. You can't really fight against yourself in that way either. So that's why we would use this expression. If someone is saying, I'm totally innocent and it's all their fault that we have these big fights, you're saying, yeah, but you're fighting too. For example, it says there, if two friends argue constantly, you might say it takes two to tango. It takes two to argue. Both need to improve their behavior because obviously it would be very unusual for one person in the argument to be totally wrong and have the other person be totally innocent, but also arguing with them. So it takes two to tango in many situations. We're not saying who caused it, who takes the blame, but we're kind of saying that if both people are fighting, then both people have some responsibility for continuing that fight.
And honestly, if someone would say this to me, I would suddenly feel a little bit embarrassed. So it's kind of like when someone is trying to put you in your place. It's like
call you out a little bit.
Yeah, dude, it takes two to tango. It's not just the other person.
Right.
You're also involved. So this idiom also applies to teamwork, as successful cooperation requires effort from everyone involved. So that's a more positive use of it, right? Well, it takes two to tango, dude. Let's get this problem solved. Let's work on it together. Let's find the answer. It takes the two of us to work together as a team. It applies to teamwork. So when people are getting along well, when they are being successful, then everyone is involved. Everyone is taking part. If you're involved, you're taking part. If you are talking about your involvement in a situation, you're talking about how you took part in a situation. If you are someone who is very involved, then it means that you are very dedicated or you're very interested in making sure, everything is going well. You're very in the middle of it all. You're not sitting on the sidelines. So whether at school, in the workplace, or even in friendships, this idiom reminds us that responsibility often lies with both parties. Most often we hear it with the negative, but when it is a positive thing and two people are going very well together, or if a guy is flirting with you, he might say, we make beautiful music together. And this is another side idiom, music idiom for you, just meaning that when we work well together, well, we do great and amazing things. It sounds like beautiful music. The next one we're going to look at is jump on the bandwagon. So if you think about it here, we're going into politics, aren't we, Mike?
Yeah, kind of. That's the way it started. Yeah, jump on the bandwagon is the idiom. It says this expression stems or comes from political campaigns where candidates rode on decorated wagons with bands playing to attract attention. So we're kind of going back in time to look at elections as they were run, I think largely in America, maybe about 100 years ago or something like that, before television and radio and internet advertising. Politicians had to travel around the country, meeting people, shaking hands, giving speeches. I think this is part of the reason American campaigns are so long, because it goes back to the time when, the people who wanted to be president or senator had to, travel by train or even by horse all around the country. Now, of course, it just ends up being a year of wasted time.
Or more.
But yes, this goes back to the early days of political campaigns, those periods before elections, where the candidates, the people who are trying to get elected, will be traveling around, meeting people, shaking hands, making speeches, that kind of thing. In the old days, the candidates rode on decorated wagons with bands playing to attract attention.
Sounds like a parade.
That was their form of television advertising or Facebook advertising or something like that. As I mentioned, a candidate is a person who wants a job. They're the person who is kind of trying to convince people, either the boss doing the interviews at the company, that they are the right person to hire for this position, or in an election, it's members of different parties who are trying to get most votes from the population. So they're saying, vote for me because I'll do great things for you, in the same way that the person in the office doing the job interview is saying, pick me, I'm the great worker, I will bring so much value to your company, I'll be such a good asset. So you're trying to get that job. In this case, they were trying to get elected to, state office, even city office, but state office or national office. And they would travel around on these decorated wagons. So imagine you just get a big wagon pulled by a bunch of horses. You put a bunch of colorful streamers and posters and signs on it saying, vote for Johnson or Johnson for Senate or something like that.
Johnson's going to look out for you.
Johnson is going to make your life better. Make Johnson great again. And then you would have a band playing to attract attention. I mean, here in Taiwan, the candidates put themselves on trucks, right?
Right.
And they drive around, they have music playing, they're waving at people as they go down the road. Same idea. And so the band's there to attract attention and to entertain people, right? So you bring people out of their homes and, oh, what's all that noise? Let's go see. Oh, it's that guy who wants to be the senator. And he's making a speech or maybe giving out little pins or buttons you can take home for free with you. And making speeches obviously would be a big part of it. And so when did we get the jumping part of the expression?
Well, over time, the phrase came to describe people who follow trends and support popular ideas. So you jump onto what is the popular trend or the popular idea of a time. So, for example, if all the boys in the 80s are getting flat top haircuts where it's like shaved pretty close on the sides, and then up top it's a flat bit of hair, that's a flat top, and you jump on the bandwagon, it means you as a boy go out and you get the same haircut as everybody else has, or maybe you follow the fashion trends of the thing, and then you're jumping on the bandwagon too, or you're supporting a popular idea, like everybody believes that peace and love rules in the 70s, right? So that's a popular idea, and you jump on the bandwagon, and you're like, I'm a hippie too! People often use this idiom to highlight those who change their opinions or actions to fit in with the majority. So in some ways, it can be used negatively, right? Oh, you're just jumping on the bandwagon. It's not like
you're
you really
following everyone else's opinion.
Come on, it's not like you really have these ideas yourself. So to highlight, to make it stand out that those people are just trying to fit in with everybody else, with the majority, with the larger group of people. You want to be just like those guys. I want to be just like Bob. For instance, social media influencers often jump on the bandwagon by endorsing trendy products or participating in popular challenges to increase their visibility. So as an example, social media influencers, those people who are making podcasts and TikToks and things like that, and Twitter/X posts and all these sorts of things, the reels that are out there, they like to jump on the bandwagon a lot because they want the money that comes from it. And they do that by endorsing, by showing their support for something that's trendy or popular, like this lipstick. It's just so amazing. This face cream, it's incredible. I love how this hair thingy puts my hair up in just the right way. And by saying all these positive things about it, you're endorsing those products or, different things like that. You can also endorse a political candidate. A lot of times it's going to be someone who's higher up in the political strata, like a president, and will be supporting a local candidate and saying, this guy, Joe, he's great, vote for Joe. And that's an endorsement. It is a comment where you are showing your support or showing you that you endorse a particular political candidate. You can also endorse, taking part in these popular challenges, and you're going to do that to what? Increase your visibility. This visibility here doesn't mean that you can see better, but it means that people can see you better. So you're standing out a little bit more in the crowd. Suddenly, oh, wow, that guy has 1 million followers. Wow, he's really amazing. I want to watch all of his reels every day for the rest of my life because he's amazing. He's got good visibility. Everybody can see him. Somebody who's got great visibility for us in a great way is our Chinese teacher. Let's listen now.
Hello everyone, 我是 Patrick. 今天讲解的是暑期课纲 Unit 10 Sing, Dance and Repeat Musical Idioms that Rock Our Language. 好，这是我们这个单元第2天的课文内容。老师衷心感谢大家非常认真在学习英文，愿意收听讲解内容。It takes two to tango. 大家英文想要学好，光是只有老师唱独角戏当然行不通。所以呢，今天我们再介绍3个和音乐相关的片语，大家以后呢在对话当中可以试着使用，让英文更有韵律感，更有趣。Tune in and jump on the bandwagon. Join other listeners out there in listening to our program to increase your exposure to English and make your English better. 好，那我们一起来看学习重点吧。我们看到第一个介绍的片语是 It takes two to tango. 好，这边呢杂志上面写着一个巴掌拍不响。好，第一个句子先解释这个片语它的来源。原来呢是跟拉丁美洲的探戈舞有关。那通常当然啦，那要有2个人，一个人没有办法跳嘛。好，那用来指什么意思呢？就是 in conflict or challenging situations， 在冲突当中双方都有责任的意思。好，那所以假设说有2个朋友他们常常在吵架，那你可能会说 It takes two to tango. 好，所以你们2个人都有问题，不要一直指责对方。好，那当然这个片语其实并不总是负面的。我们看第4个句子 This idiom also applies to teamwork. 那也指着说团队要一起合作，合作呢那才会有好的结果。好，那比方说啦，我们举个例子Their business partnership is incredibly successful. 譬如说有人呢一起合伙做生意，做得很好。It takes two to tango. Both partners bring unique skills and work together seamlessly. 那2个合作的伙伴生意伙伴，他们其实都有很特殊的才华。而且呢2个合作无间。It takes two to tango. 所以生意才这么成功。再来，我们看到第2个片语Jump on the bandwagon. 那所指的呢就是跟风赶流行。第一个句子一样是让我们知道说这个片语的起源是什么。This expression stems from. 好 stem from 好就是起源原来呢跟政治的这些活动选举的活动其实是相关的。候选人 rode on decorated wagons. 那这些候选人呢他们会在这个已经装饰过的wagons 这些货车上面呢怎么样呢？还有这个音乐乐队同时呢会在那里演奏，就是要吸引大众的目光嘛。所以候选人呢跳上了jump on the bandwagon， 跳上了乐队的花车来吸引大众的目光。好，那接下来我们看一下第2个句子。随着时间的演变，这个片语呢有了新的意思。Describe people who follow trends or support popular ideas. 所以等于是追流行或者呢别人的想法是怎么样，那你也支持，那我们就可以说 jump on the bandwagon。 好，那当然我们刚刚已经说到，现在 jump on the bandwagon 已经不是说跳上乐队的花车这样子实际的行动，而是呢去支持某一个流行的趋势或者想法。下面就有个例子啦， social media influencers 就是我们讲的网红。台湾这里喜欢讲 KOL， 可是其实我们在英文里面很常见的是 influencers。 好，这些网红呢 jump on the bandwagon， 那他们怎么样呢跟风赶流行呢？ endorse trendy products， 有一些产品呢是很流行的嘛，那这时候呢他们就会说这个很不错我个人用的效果怎么样有一种业配的感觉。不过老师要特别跟大家讲的是 endorse 其实就是帮产品代言。比方说 movie stars earn more money endorsing fashion products than making movies。 好，电影明星拍电影呢当然很赚钱，不过赚更多钱的就是帮产品代言。
All right, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
All right, we are back. So jumping on the bandwagon. That was our last idiom. When you don't really think for yourself, you just kind of follow popular trends. If everyone's doing something, you do it too. You weren't sort of the person who discovered it. You're just one of the people kind of joining in, maybe even pretending that, oh, I've always loved this, when you just started doing it yesterday. So it's kind of showing that you don't really think independently. You kind of follow the trends or follow the crowds. Now, the next idiom is pretty much the opposite. This is to march to the beat of one's own drum. March to the beat of your own drum. I think I've also heard march to the beat of your own drummer. But drum certainly would be a very common way of saying that. That means basically you are very independent. You dance to your own music. You don't dance to the music that everyone else says is popular. You are a very free spirit, a very individualistic type person. You don't follow trends. You kind of do things the way you like to do it, even if it means that you might not be as popular as others.
And you can also march to the beat of a different drum.
March to the beat of a different drum. Yeah, that's another variation. As it says there, the idiom's inspiration may have come from military bands, whose drummers were known for setting a marching pace. Absolutely, yeah. A lot of times, and even today, when they do sort of ceremonies and public performances, we'll have soldiers marching along, and they'll be rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat, and they're kind of marching to that beat. That might be for a circus, too. But yes,
that's true.
They would have drummers setting the pace, and the pace is basically how fast you're walking. Right? If you're walking to the store, you might have a slow pace. If you're walking around the park or in a gym on a machine for health, you might have a faster pace. That just means you're doing more steps per minute or something like that. So that's the inspiration for this idiom. We're saying it may have come. We don't really know, but this seems logical. And maybe if they study history of English, it was around the time that military drummers and marching bands and things like that were common, and someone used this term. Well, this person marches to the beat of their own drum. That's the inspiration, where you get an idea from, that little bit of creative spark that then blossoms or, expands or grows into a bigger idea, a bigger new original idea. But where that idea comes from, that little bit of inspiration or creativity, that's what we're talking about here. So it probably came from these bands, when they had these marching bands back in the old days, and drummers would set the pace. And in such a structured environment, failing to follow the set rhythm would be highly noticeable. If you've ever seen soldiers marching around in those groups, right, they always start with the left foot and then the right foot, left, right, left, right. If you have someone who's going right, left, even if they're in the same rhythm, you would notice that. But if they're going left, right, and the other person is going left, right, left, right, left, right, like that, it would be very, very noticeable. That person would really stand out. And if I was the captain or the guy in charge of those marching soldiers, I'd be saying, hey, you, stop doing that. You're making everyone else look bad because you clearly stick out, kind of like that one black sheep in the field of white sheep. It's impossible to ignore, and that person is not going along with other people. This is a structured environment, right? Soldiers do things the same way, dress the same way, speak the same way. It's very structured, it's very organized, it's very regulated. They follow all the same rules, they look all the same way, and they do all the same things. So failing to follow the set rhythm, that beat that the drummer is creating, or the beat or the pace of the marching feet of your fellow soldiers, that would be highly noticeable. Something noticeable really, really sticks out. Like, as I said, that one black sheep in a field of white sheep, it really sticks out. It's very noticeable. It's something you cannot possibly ignore.
That's true. And if you would think about it historically, normally if you are talking about someone marching to a beat of their own drum, it wasn't really a positive thing, because being noticeable in a marching band
not in that situation.
Ain't good. But these days, a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, he just marches to a beat of his own drum, or marches to a beat of a different drum. And it can be negative, but it can also be saying he's an interesting, unique individual who's really got his own way of doing things. And, there's a lot of respect for people being a little bit different these days, as long as they're not going out of their way to hurt others. Then if they're creating, unique ideas or making brand new inventions, you need those people who are really going to the beat of their own drum to be able to break out of societal norms and do their own thing. And that's kind of what we see with this expression. So now the idiom, march to one's own drum, describes individuals who think differently and make their own choices, right? So someone who has their own mindset about what they want to do and how they're going to go about their day, and they don't really care about what they're supposed to do. They're not going to be in that marching band. And these people are often seen as creative people who have a lot of, creative thoughts, a lot of imagination, a lot of ability to make things out of nothing. And they are also seen as being unconventional. So people who are unconventional do not follow the rules and norms of society. They don't follow the conventions of society, the way society works, the way society runs, or the conventions of society. So if you are unconventional, then you do things just a little bit differently than what society says is what everybody should be doing. And you are daring enough to defy social norms. So not only are you creative, not only do you think and do things a little bit uniquely, but you also are a fighter. So you're daring enough, you are adventurous enough to go against, to completely defy, to go 100% against social norms, the things that society says are norms. And if you defy something, it means you just 100% are like, no way, man, not going to do that. If you defy your parents, you're going to be in your room for a while. If you defy your teachers, you're going to be in the principal's office for a while. So probably not the right time to defy, the powers that be. But if you're somebody who wants to create, something new and original, then you might have to defy what society says is okay. What do you mean we need a light bulb? We have a candle. Well, I'm going to defy the fact that candles are everything that's good and only good, and I'm going to make something electric. It's a light bulb.
There you go. So as it says, musical idioms add life and rhythm to language. We're talking about musical idioms, and yes, if you use them right, they can add life and rhythm to language. Rhythm, of course, is also, the way we count time in music, and then what you dance to in music is the rhythm. So we can talk about the rhythm of language too, just the way people talk and the way their words sound and sort of the creative and lovely sounding things that they can come up with, and how using idioms to kind of enhance that is only good. By learning and using them, you can jazz up your conversations and make them more expressive. I think our author has dipped into the musical idiom box a little too often
Just a
here.
little bit here.
We're jazzing things up.
There's
of course,
one more.
Jazz is a style of music. When you jazz things up, that means you kind of enhance them, you improve them, you add something to them to make them slightly more interesting or special or unusual than normal. And you can make your language more expressive. So next time you chat, try using one of these expressions and let your words sing. In other words, turn your words into more than words. Turn your words into beautiful things to listen to, as well as very elegant ways to communicate.
Guess who our beautiful person is to listen to? Our Chinese teacher. Let's listen now.
接下来是我们最后一个片语 march to the beat of one's own drum， 那就是我行我素。这个片语我们看第一个句子 The idiom's inspiration may have come from military bands。 好，请同学特别注意的是 may have come from， may 加 have 加 pp， 这个是对过去的一个猜测。那现在我们没有办法很斩钉截铁的说这个片语就是怎么样演变来的，所以我们才会说呢，它可能是这个成语可能是呢来自于以前的这个军乐队。那因为呢他们的鼓手啊常常要为整个军乐队的行进步调来定调，那所以呢我们才有这个相关成语的演变。在军队当中，他们其实是必须要有一定的节奏，大家要同时呢往前跨嘛。那所以如果呢你是有自己的节奏，你听的是你自己的鼓声的话，那就是不遵循既有的节奏，那会非常的显眼。因此我们看到第三句，这个成语呢现在 march to one's own drum， 通常呢是在描述某些人他的想法呢比较不一样，他比较另类。好，那所以我们看到第四个句子 They are daring enough to defy social norms， 他们通常呢就是会去挑战社会的规范。好，那再来我们看到最后的两个句子了。 在结尾的时候，我们作者非常的有趣哦，他一样在用了跟音乐相关的这个成语呢来做结尾。By learning and using them， 所指的当然就是前面和音乐相关的这些片语成语。You can jazz up your conversations。Jazz 当然就是跟爵士乐有关，所指的就是让我们的对话更生动有趣。那后面有讲到 Let your words sing。那 Let your words sing 是什么意思呢？当然所指的就是让你的话呢是充满表现力的。有没有点像我们中文说让你说的比唱的还好听？好，那 Let your words sing 用这些片语，你讲英文就比较有趣了。好，这就是我们针对以上3个片语所做的中文讲解。See you next time.
We hope you've had fun and have enjoyed our musical play on words that we've had last couple of days. For English Digest, I'm Leah.
And I'm Mike.
See you next time.